All right, folks, welcome to Gambling Flow, the show where we, explore the craziest gambling stories out there.
Crazy's right.
Yeah.
And today we're diving deep, deep, deep into the life of a man who, well, let's just say he played for some seriously high stakes.
Oh, yeah, this guy makes your average high roller look like, I don't know, like a amateur poker player at a family reunion or something.
Exactly. And the wildest part, it wasn't just about the thrill of the game for him. This guy had a heart of gold, too.
Yeah, I'm Russell Kane, by the way.
Oh, right. And I'm Fiona Blake.
Now, Fiona, you and I have been poring over research on this guy, and, well, I got to say, I'm already hooked.
Me too. His story is just unbelievable. We're talking Kerry Packer, the Australian billionaire who took the gambling world by storm.
Kerry Packer.
Yep. The guy who seemed to have a bottomless pit of money.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Who was this guy? Where did he get all that cash?
Well, he inherited a media empire from his father, but he wasn't content with just sitting on his fortune. He was a born gambler, a risk taker, both in business and, well, at the casino tables.
So we're not talking about some spoiled rich kid who just inherited a bunch of money and blew it all on roulette, right?
Oh, no, not at all. Packer was a shrewd businessman. He expanded his family's empire, ventured into all sorts of industries. But yeah, he also had this incredible appetite for gambling. And not just your average Friday night poker game. We're talking astronomical stakes.
Okay, you got to give me an example. I need something to wrap my head around the kind of money we're talking about here.
All right, picture this. You're at a high-stakes poker game in Vegas, right? You're sitting across from a Texan oil tycoon who's bragging about his $100 million net worth.
Okay, I'm with you. 100 million, not bad.
Right. But then Kerry Packer just casually looks at him and says, I'll flip you for it. Like it's nothing.
Wait, what? He offered to flip a coin for $100 million.
That's Kerry Packer for you. Audacious, unpredictable, and always up for a challenge. And you know what? The Texan backed down.
I bet he did. I mean, who wouldn't? That's just insane.
Ah.
But it sounds like that was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to Packer's gambling exploits,
Oh,
right?
yeah, we're just getting started. This guy was legendary for his high-stakes bets. And not just at the poker table. He loved horse racing, too, and his wagers terrified bookmakers.
So not just casinos. He was a high roller in every sense of the word.
Exactly. But you know what's really interesting? Packer wasn't just some reckless gambler throwing money around for kicks. He was actually a pretty shrewd player, understood the odds, and often came out on top.
Oh, so he wasn't just lucky. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he had this uncanny ability to read situations, assess risks, and make calculated bets. Whether it was at the casino or in the boardroom, Packer seemed to have this sixth sense for where the chips would fall.
Okay, so we've got a billionaire who's not afraid to gamble big, who understands the odds, and who's also a savvy businessman. What else makes this guy tick? What else do we need to know about Kerry Packer?
Well, there's a side to him that most people don't know about, a softer side, a generous side. This guy was known for his incredible acts of philanthropy, often done anonymously.
Anonymous philanthropy. So he wasn't just flashing his cash around. He actually cared about giving back.
He did. Packer had a big heart, and he wasn't afraid to use his wealth to help others, whether it was funding scholarships for underprivileged kids or donating millions to hospitals.
That's pretty amazing. So we've got this high roller, this risk taker, this shrewd businessman, and this secret philanthropist. It's like he's a character straight out of a movie.
That's what makes his story so captivating. He was larger than life, full of contradictions, but undeniably fascinating.
All right, I'm sold. Tell me more about this guy's gambling exploits. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. I want to hear about the casinos, the horse races, the wins, the losses, the whole 9 yards.
Buckle up then, because we're about to dive deep into the world of Kerry Packer's legendary gambling adventures.
Perfect. I'm ready for it. Hit me with your best shot.
So remember that 1994 trip to the MGM Grand in Vegas I mentioned? That wasn't just any casino visit. That was Packer in his element, playing for stakes that would make your head spin.
Okay, I'm all ears. This is what I came for.
Now imagine this. Packer's on a winning streak. He's playing seven blackjack tables simultaneously.
7? At the same time? How is that even possible?
It's Kerry Packer, anything's possible. And the stakes. Well, the casino actually allowed him to raise the limits to $500,000 a hand. They were desperate to stop his run.
500,000 per hand. This is insane.
That's Packer for you. He walked away from that trip $26 million richer. And get this. He left $1 million tip for the dealers. Just like that.
$1 million tip. That's more than some people make in a lifetime. It's like he was playing a different game entirely.
He was, and he was winning.
I can only imagine the bookmakers sweating bullets when he decided to hit the racetrack too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Bookies lived in fear of Packer's bets. He could single-handedly shift the odds of a race with one wager.
Give me an example. I need to hear about some of these legendary bets.
Okay. Picture the Melbourne Cup, 1997. Packer places a cool $1.5 million on a horse called Might and Power.
$1.5 million
Yeah.
on one horse.
Yeah. And you know what? Might and Power wins, just like Packer predicted. The guy had a knack for it, or maybe it was just insane luck.
It's like he was a magnet for fortune, whether at the blackjack table or the racetrack. But this is just scratching the surface, right? There's got to be more.
Oh, there's so much more to this story. We're just getting started. We haven't even touched on his business dealings, his feuds, his larger-than-life personality.
Oh, man, I can't wait to hear more. This is incredible.
We'll get there. But for now, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more on the extraordinary life of Kerry Packer, right here on Gambling Flow. Don't go anywhere.
You heard it, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Gambling Flow. We're talking Kerry Packer.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Pretty much. And before the break, we were talking about his wild bets, his incredible wins.
Yeah, millions on a horse race, $1 million tip. The guy was operating on a different level.
He was, and it's easy to get caught up in those stories, but there's more to Packer than just the gambling.
Okay, so what else was there?
Well, let's talk about where all that money came from.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I mean, we know he inherited some, but was he just lucky or was there more to it?
So yeah, he got a head start with the family's media empire, but Packer wasn't the type to just sit back and relax. He was a hustler.
A hustler, huh?
Yeah.
So not just a gambler.
Oh, no, this guy was a business shark through and through. He took that inherited wealth and turned it into something even bigger.
Okay, so how'd he do that?
He was a master deal maker, had a knack for spotting opportunities, and wasn't afraid to take risks.
Kind of like his gambling, huh?
Exactly. He saw business as just another game, another chance to win big.
So what kind of businesses did he get into?
Well, he expanded the family's media holdings, obviously, but then branched out into, you wouldn't believe it, cattle ranching, casinos, even cricket.
Cricket, like the sport.
Yep, the sport. He pretty much revolutionized the game with World Series cricket, brought in big money night games, made it a global spectacle.
So the guy was a visionary.
Yeah, he saw the potential in things that others missed and wasn't afraid to shake things up.
But with all that success, the gambling, the business, I mean, did it ever go to his head?
Well, he definitely lived a lavish lifestyle, multiple mansions, private jets, even a private island. But there's something interesting here.
Okay, what's that?
Despite all that wealth, there are these stories about Packer, these moments of, well, I guess you could call it humility.
Humility. A billionaire gambler known for his humility. I'm intrigued.
It's true. Remember those anonymous acts of philanthropy we talked about? It wasn't just about the money. There was something more to it.
Like what?
Like a desire to help others, to give back, to make a difference. And it wasn't just big, splashy donations either.
So what else did he do?
Well, there are these stories about him, like the time he was in a casino and saw this croupier struggling. She was having a bad night.
Okay, so what did he do?
He just slipped her a huge tip, like a life-changing amount of money.
Wow. So he wasn't just throwing money around. He was actually trying to help people.
He was. And it's kind of strange, right? This larger-than-life figure, this gambler, this seemed invincible, but then you see these glimpses of real compassion.
Yeah, it's definitely more complicated than it seems at first glance, and that's what makes this story so fascinating, right?
It is. Kerry Packer was a bundle of contradictions, a gambler, a businessman, a philanthropist, and, yeah, maybe even a little bit of a softie underneath it all.
A softie. That's not the image that usually comes to mind.
I know, right? But it's true, and it's part of what makes his story so human, so relatable, even though his life was anything but ordinary.
So we've talked about his gambling, his business, his philanthropy. What else is there to uncover about this guy? I mean, what kind of legacy did he leave behind?
That's a great question, and one that's not easily answered. I mean, how do you sum up a life like Kerry Packer's?
Yeah, he was larger than life, for sure. But, what impact did he really have on the world? Was he just a flamboyant gambler or something more?
I think it's safe to say that Packer left an undeniable mark on the world, both in the world of business and in the world of, well, just being Kerry Packer.
Okay, so let's break it down. What's his legacy?
Well, for one, he was a true innovator. He wasn't afraid to take risks, to challenge the status quo, and to push the boundaries of what was possible.
Yeah, we talked about World Series cricket, how he transformed the game.
Exactly, and that was just one example. He had this knack for seeing opportunities where others saw obstacles, and he wasn't afraid to go after what he wanted.
But he wasn't always a saint,
Mm.
right? I mean, I've heard stories about his more ruthless side.
Oh, yeah. Packer could be tough, demanding, and, yeah, sometimes ruthless in his pursuit of success. He wasn't afraid to make enemies, and he definitely wasn't known for his subtlety.
So a complicated legacy.
Very complicated. He was a visionary, a disruptor, a philanthropist, but also, a man who could be ruthless when he needed to be.
Sounds like a real-life anti-hero, flaws and all.
He was. But, that's what makes his story so compelling. He was a human being full of contradictions, but ultimately he lived life on his own terms and left the world a more interesting place because of it.
And that's what we love about these deep talks, right? Uncovering the complexity of these larger-than-life figures, seeing the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Exactly. It's about understanding the human story behind the headlines, the motivations, the struggles, and the triumphs. And Kerry Packer's story, well, it's got it all. So we've talked about Kerry Packer, the gambler, the businessman, the philanthropist, the whole complicated package.
Yeah, the guy was like a walking, talking paradox, you know?
Mm.
Millions at the casino, but then secretly funding scholarships for kids who couldn't afford school.
It's almost like he was trying to balance the scales, right? The extravagant bets, the ruthless business deals, and then these incredible acts of kindness, often done without anyone even knowing it was him.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what was driving him? Was it guilt? Was it a genuine desire to make a difference? Or maybe it was just, I don't know, some kind of cosmic game he was playing.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't think there's a simple answer. Packer was a complex character full of contradictions, but that's what makes his story so fascinating.
Absolutely. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's worth asking, what's his legacy? I mean, how should we remember Kerry Packer?
It's tough to say. He was a controversial figure, no doubt about it. But he also left a lasting impact on the world of business, on the world of gambling, even on the world of sports.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to shake things up, to challenge the status quo, and he often succeeded, even if it meant ruffling a few feathers along the way.
He definitely ruffled some feathers, but he also got things done. He had this incredible drive, this vision, and he wasn't afraid to go after it.
I guess that's what makes him so fascinating, right? The audacity, the ambition, the contradictions. He was a true original, a one-of-a-kind character that we're unlikely to see again anytime soon.
Agreed. Kerry Packer, the high roller, the business tycoon, the secret philanthropist, and the enigma that will continue to captivate us for years to come.
Well said, Fiona. Well, folks, that's it for our deep dive into the life of Kerry Packer. I hope you enjoyed the ride as much as we did.
I'm Fiona Blake.
And I'm Russell Kane. You've been listening to Gambling Flow. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share it with your friends. Until next time, keep those cards flying, and remember, fortune favors the bold.